Hey guys, it's Jenny. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing fine. And as you can see, now that the holidays are gone, my neighbor is back to the demolition project. So, yet again, excuse the noises on the background. It's gonna take a while. It's a big house. Anyway, today we shall talk about something light. Getting back into business slowly but surely. Let's talk about what orchid growers receive or want to receive for Christmas. And I'll show you what I got. Maybe it will serve as ideas for future Christmases. Hope you get some inspiration for the orchid lover in your life. Now, the most exciting item that I received this Christmas is a spool of galvanized wire. Now, galvanized wire is actually a very handy product that we orchid growers use a lot. Well, some of us at least, because if you didn't know, galvanized wire can be used to produce plant holders, such as this one. This is a DIY plant holder that I made myself, and I'm very proud of it because I suck at DIYs, which contains the pseudobulbs of my orchid. Pretty much it saves space on my shelf, and it was just so easy to make and so cheap that it's absolutely worth it. Not to mention, it gives me a great sense of accomplishment. Now, the design of this holder is not mine. I edited it, or actually customized it a little bit by adding a little blob of glue, of hot glue right here, so that we don't scratch ourselves, nor do we harm the orchid. But there is a video on YouTube which shows you how to make these holders. I'll link you down below. It belongs to Bumblebee, and I find it to be the easiest, most efficient way to produce this holder. It is also slightly mobile in the sense that you could remove it and free some pseudobulbs if you want, or add more pseudobulbs inside without actually having to remove the whole holder from the pot. Inside, as you can see, we only have one leg instead of three. If you remember, I did purchase some holders which had 3 legs. This one only has one is all you need. Of course, if you have bigger or stronger plants which need more support, you can definitely add a few more legs. But for me, 1 is great. Now, galvanized wire theoretically should not rust. But of course, on the market we have variable quality. I can tell you that Santa saw quite the rusty galvanized wire. It was the most expensive one on the shelf. It was the only one which was packed, and the only one which assured us that the brand produces only tools you can trust. How's that for irony? So there we go. Santa decided to bring me the cheapest spool of galvanized wire, which, as it turns out, works great, and theoretically, if it's decently made, should not rust. Galvanized wire can also be used to stake flower spikes. If you don't want to reuse your bamboo skewers because they do decompose in time, if you don't have proper orchid stakes, then you can definitely use galvanized wire to produce a little stake for a flower spike. It is also quite sturdy. The only downside is galvanized wire is usually not green, so it will not blend in with your orchid. However, though, if you like silver, then by all means, galvanized wire is the way to go. And if you were thinking that this looks very similar to the hooks vandas usually come with, then you're right. Galvanized wire is also used to hook vandas. And the good thing is, you can actually decide how long your hanger will be. And this will be a project for the future. I already have some vandas which are slightly tall, slightly unruly, so I am planning to make a hook out of galvanized wire. Bottom line, galvanized wire is a perfect present, not only for the orchid lover in your life, but also for you. It is the only thing standing between yourself and the orchids crawling in bed with you. But wait, what is better than 1 spool of galvanized wire? 2 spools of galvanized wire. For the orchid lover in your life who's kind of overdoing it with orchids and pretty much has all the house covered in orchids, and you are literally afraid they will crawl in bed with you one day. Better safe than sorry, I always say. The next present I got for Christmas, which I think will make many orchid growers happy, is a narrow tip pliers. Now, this is the perfect tool to create those loops that you might have seen in my plant holder, because using your fingers will not work. The wire is indeed flexible, but it's not that flexible. So getting yourself a pair of these will solve the trick. The pliers, which have a shorter but thicker tip, they're not as great. Here you can actually control how much you will bend the wire. You can make a tiny loop, or you can make a bigger, rounder loop. And if you really like the orchid lover in your life, you will pick a tool which does not rust. So I do advise you to invest a little bit in the tools, and always make sure you get rust-resistant ones. And to complete my Christmas tool set, I also received a wire cutter. As you can see, my wire cutter is secondhand. That's okay. this will work as well. But if you want to add a touch of finesse, go and buy a new one for your loved one. In case you really don't want to buy a new tool, a second-hand one works as well. Hey, we're not picky choosers, and many of us never actually use these tools ever in our lives. So for some of us, it's a new experience. We enjoy it no matter what. As you might have noticed, my little obsession around the holidays were plant supports, and this is because I was actually starting to add bamboo skewers and raffia tapes around my orchids. Let me just show you. I just want to use the space that I have there to its full potential, but it wasn't really comfortable to work with the raffia tape. As you can see here, I have quite unruly orchids. Also, the bamboo skewers I need to replace periodically because they just get mushy, they get moldy. It's really not a good time for me with the bamboo skewers. So I knew there had to be a better way. Now, since I'm not good at DIY, I was not sure how the whole holder situation will go, but luckily I did find that video from Bumblebee, which helped me a lot. I find this to be really easy to make, and if I can do it, everyone can. I'm really anti-talent. It's a Romanian expression when it comes to DIY stuff, and especially when it comes to wires and stuff of the sorts. But I think it's worth it, and if you want to try it, there we go. However, though, wires and wire cutters and pliers are not the only things orchid lovers want for Christmas. We actually want orchids. So let me give you a few pointers on orchids. If you intend to purchase orchids for a true orchid collector, this is what you need to know. Number one, what you have on the market we already have as well, or we don't want. 90% of the stuff on the market. So you see a really nice phalaenopsis, one of those orchids with a lot of flowers, archy flower spikes. It's beautiful. We don't want that. Do not touch that. If it's pink, we don't want it. If it's white, we don't want it. If it's purple, run away. We don't want that. What we want is something you don't normally find in flower shops. For example, we don't want something that has 20 flowers. We want something that only has one flower. Well, one big flower, that is. And although this is a phalaenopsis, it's just special. It doesn't look like the rest. If we're true orchid collectors, chances are we already have what the flower shops and garden centers have. But every once in a while, you can hit the jackpot and actually find something that we truly want. If it says orchid on the tag but does not look like this, we want it. Aim for something like this, or like this, or like this. Definitely like this. Orchids are expensive, but you can make them cheaper if you just remove the decorative container. Flower shops will usually drop the price if you do this, and rest assured, we don't really care for this stuff. And the last tip, if you are somehow extremely lucky and you find something that smells nice, get it. We want it. We don't care what it is, as long as it's an orchid and it smells nice. Even if it's a twinkle, we can never have enough twinkles. There's always a little shade darker than the ones we have. And that's about it for the first video after the holidays. Hope it put a smile on your faces. Let me know if you had a good time, if you got some new orchids. What did you find in flower shops around this time? They usually bring some stuff which doesn't have the name phalaenopsis, and that's always exciting. So let me know down below, how have you spent your holidays? So thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. You know the drill. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye! Oh my goodness, I caught that on camera. I just turned on my camera and it happened. Wow. Alrighty. Okay, I actually wanted to say something. So a million years ago, meaning about 2 years ago, I received from Ana Maria a lot of orchids, and I built that ICU chamber. Most of them were divisions, and some of them back divisions. They needed special attention, special care, and one of the orchids in that ICU was this one. My love of my life, the BC Maikai. And look at her now. She is opening up. She produced flowers, and I cannot be happier. Now, of course, they will not be fully open until January, but I have a funny suspicion January will be awesome from the point of view of flowers. Hopefully, if the things decide to open. Anyway, funny thing about this one, she is a Brassavola cross, and I did discover that the Brassavolas have a special traits in comparison to the Cattleyas. Remember when my little stars bloomed and I told you, you know what, this one can bloom from dried sheaths? Well, the Maikai did the very same thing. So prior to this pseudobulb being formed, we had another one, which had a little sheath, but it did not flower, it just started to produce a new pseudobulb. And there we go. When this new pseudobulb was formed and ready to bloom, the old pseudobulb produced two little tiny buds as well. So there we go. So I think I can conclude that sometimes brassavolas and their crosses can bloom from older pseudobulbs, provided they are mature enough and even have a little sheath. Tiny, dry, it doesn't matter, they do have a sheath, they're capable of blooming. So that's a fun fact about brassavolas. I love them even more.